Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
All right, this is going to be a tough one for, I'm not used to being the smallest guy in the show.
I'm confused.
Or am I?
I'm used to being the smallest guy around. So
you know what's unique about you? You're so strong, but you're not like 400 pounds. You're just a strong dude.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the smallest strongman competitor at the professional level.
What do you weigh?
Right now, I'm about 275.
Yeah, isn't it almost mandatory to be over 300 in that sport?
Pretty much, yeah.
Mass moves and mass.
Yeah, I missed the cue on that one.
It's all right.
Last time we had you on the show, the hubby, Joe, right? Was it Joe?
Yeah,
Joey
yeah.
Stopped in the background.
Yep.
Is he here this weekend?
He's not here this week, just because I'm so busy with HWPO and working and stuff like that. It would have been tough. So him and his best friend went on a trip to Montreal for the weekend to get away.
Smart.
So yeah, I've just been riding solo, and today's my shopping day for him.
Nice.
Oh, what do you got to get?
Yeah.
I mean, so far I've gotten 6 T-shirts, 2 pairs of shoes. Just.
Well, what'd you get for him?
That is all for him.
That was good.
How did you hook up with Matt and the HWPO team?
So really funny. I've known Sammy before I knew Matt.
Sammy Modis.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're
Matt's
married
wife.
or
Yeah.
not. But
So
Yeah.
Sammy and I went to neighboring colleges.
no, wait. They're not married.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
He says wife.
That's a
but-
baby mama.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a baby mama.
Whatever. I'm no judgment here.
So Sammy and I went to neighboring colleges.
Okay.
And we were at the schools at around the same time and kind of knew of each other. Flash forward to 2020, I'm at the Arnold. First time competing there, finished the first event, and I'm walking off the stage and I hear somebody yelling, Rob, from behind me, and I turn around and it's her. So obviously at this point, I knew she was with Matt,
right.
But I didn't want to be that person that exploited that relationship to get
right.
to Matt and whatever. So
was that something you were interested in, working with him?
I mean, not necessarily, because he was still competing, so I
Right.
didn't know what really was going on. But I mean, I started strongman through CrossFit in 2009.
Got it.
Right, that's how I got.
You were
into strongman.
CrossFit first?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that about you.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And so we kind of made the connection there at the Arnold in 2020, and then just kind of lightly stayed in touch throughout the years. Flash forward to when Mal O'Brien started training with Matt.
Yep.
There were some things he felt we needed to work on from a strength perspective, and fortunately I was the person he sought out to do that. And, kind of help some of that training. And then, flash forward to, it's been a year and a half now that I've been working full-time with the team. And,
right.
Really just handling all the strength programming for not only our elite athletes, but then now I have my own program on our training platform as well.
You have a strength track inside of the. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Is it? Do you mind if I ask? What does that look like? Is it strongman based, or is it more, or do you have both? Just kind of a traditional strength training and then some strongman based.
So it is predominantly just traditional strength training,
okay.
Right? So really just building that foundational strength that we can transfer over to CrossFit. I will say it is one of the most unique. I think it's the most unique strength programs out there right now, simply because not only are we just doing predominantly strength training, but we also have Metcons each day that complement the strength training that we did.
Okay.
Right? So it's whether we're squatting and deadlifting and then doing some accessories, that Metcon is going to be designed to help those movement patterns that we strengthened earlier in that training session. So it really is a comprehensive strength program that not only is going to get you strong as fuck, but it's also going to help maintain that fitness level that you came to the program with.
Yeah. What's your background? How'd you get into training?
So I have a master's degree in sports medicine and athletic training.
Okay. What school when you were Sammy?
Yeah, so I went to Springfield College.
Oh, Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, yep. Sammy, she went to Western New England, right down the road. And so when I got into, so I started strongman in 2009. I was a senior in high school. And
2009, you're a senior in high school.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel old now.
Yeah. So I really, I loved training. So I played football. I was actually a cheerleader as well.
Okay.
And
you did both at the same time? You cheerleader?
Not at the same time.
That was interesting. Were you wearing your pads and then throwing the cheerleaders?
I was football
Especially when he scored the touchdown. He's like, let me get over here.
I was a lineman. Don't give me that much credit for scoring touchdowns. So I'd do football in the fall, cheer in the winter, then the spring and summer was all just training.
Right.
And was fortunate enough that there was a substitute teacher at my high school who was also a CrossFit coach. And he was like, hey man, you look like you like this stuff. if you want to, like, you can come to my CrossFit gym. And so I would start going.
He owned a gym?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was his name?
So it was George Rutherford and Randy Taraskiewicz.
What
They were
box?
it was Southeastern Connecticut CrossFit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm from upstate New York. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were they were down near Norwich, Connecticut, in that area. And so I was actually going to the gym at 5 a.m. before school as a senior in high school.
Dedication at
You're
high
like
school.
the most responsible high school I've ever spoken to.
Yeah.
And so I would go to the training sessions, and my second day in the gym, the workout was the CrossFit Total.
Oh, you're like, I'm in.
yes.
I'm in. Yeah.
So
They're like, thank you guys.
What'd you
I get
hit?
to
Do you
the-
remember?
I don't. So I think I hit. It was like a 396 back squat, a 154 strict press, and then I pulled 506.
Tell me why you know those are serious numbers. Not because of how high. Why are those so serious?
I don't really understand the question.
They're like obscure numbers.
Oh, yes.
Right? They're
yeah,
not
it's
like, well, I hit 405.
Yeah.
He's like, I hit a 396 back squat.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't have fractional plates in 2009 or whatever.
Yeah,
Was
so-
there a powerlifting bridge there, or was it like traditional weightlifting right into strongman?
It was mainly just like, it was kind of like, it was your high school strength training program, right? So it was like back squat, power cleans, bench press, some deadlifting. But the moment I deadlifted 506, it was the first time 500 had ever been pulled in that gym. And the owner looked
Other than
at
like
me,
your second day.
my second day, and I was,
They're
17
like, you're
years
not
old.
welcome back here anymore.
And the owner looked at me and he goes, maybe CrossFit's not for you.
You have to have the wherewithal to be like, I want this guy to do it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you're going to be so good over here.
And then fast forward a week later, I walk into the gym on a Tuesday morning. It was June. I still remember this to this day. And they're like, hey, there's a strongman competition a couple towns over this Saturday. We signed you up for it.
Sweet, let's do it.
A week later, like a week into...
Yeah, like a week
Are
and
you
a
the
half, 2
strongest
weeks.
guy on the football team, too, at this point?
I
Probably?
was,
Yeah, I figured.
How
Yeah.
many high schoolers are squatting 400 pounds?
Well,
Are you the...
Listen, probably at that time, it's probably not that rare
Yeah,
that
not
high
rare.
schoolers are.
Yeah.
High schoolers are pretty strong, bro. Football.
I don't think many are pulling 5. How many of your teammates are pulling 5?
I was the only one pulling over 5, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But so honestly, at that point in my life, my experience with strongman was pretty much what everybody else had seen on ESPN.
Yeah.
Bill
Right, like-
Kazmaier.
I had never done it. I had never tried the implements, but I was like, yeah, fuck it, let me go. Like, let me try this out. And so I go there, 17 years old, had no experience with the sport.
This is like a qualifier for the one
It
we
was
see on
a
ESPN?
backyard strongman.
It wasn't?
competition.
Okay.
Yeah, this was like something like fun as a fundraiser guys do in the backyard. They just come together to lift some heavy shit. And I went there, got my ass kicked, fell in love with the sport. And
Do you remember what the events were? Because they're not always like standard,
So
obviously.
we had an axle clean and press that was 150 pounds for max reps. There was a tank drag, and I say tank, it was like 3 propane tanks that they tied together. That was a seated arm over arm drag. They had the fingle fingers. We had a farmer's
That's the one
carry.
you walk the circle?
No, the fingle fingers is the one you flip
flip,
up and
okay.
walk
Yeah,
your
yeah,
hands
yeah.
up and flip it over. Farmer's carries that were up a hill. And
Heavy,
then,
though?
Yeah, it was about 200 pounds a hand. So
My max
Not bad.
deadlift. My max deadlift, yeah.
and,
okay, got it.
Laughing at Pat
and then,
Barber.
then we had Atlas Stones to finish it out, right? So it was a cool 5-event show. Like
And
I
you,
said,
you didn't win?
I took dead last.
Really?
Did
dead-
you?
dead
Were you able
last.
to do the events though?
I didn't finish the stones because that day was the first time I had ever
touched one. You're like, I don't even know how to get my hands on this.
Yeah, so like I really didn't do well, but honestly fell in love with everything about the sport. When I went to Springfield College, I joined the powerlifting team. So I had a small stint where I was decently successful in powerlifting, winning like New England States and the Junior Olympics and stuff like that.
What were you totaling at this
Yeah.
point as a powerlifter?
I was totaling in like the 16 to 1700 pound range, and I was competing in the under 200 pound division, so the 90 kilo class.
God, that is
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay.
So pretty competitive, but like ultimately like really just wanted to get back into feeling like an athlete.
Right.
Right? Like powerlifting is dope. I love it, right? Like it's really cool to just lift really heavy shit in those
Right.
3 lifts. But I missed the athleticism of playing football and doing cheerleading, and that's really what drew me back into strongman, because not only do you have to be strong, you have to be able to move. There's some level of conditioning, and started transitioning full-time into strongman. And honestly, like I was terrible at the sport when I started.
Why?
I took last place in 8 competitions in a row. I was always one of those kids that like I loved playing sports, but I was never that one that was like gifted.
Right.
I never had that like raw talent.
It's like Jay.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like I had to work harder than everybody else in the room to
Yeah.
get fractionally better. And
In hindsight, you're like,
Hey, turns
that's
out,
actually a better.
hard work pays off.
Yeah, for sure.
weird, full circle, right? So I take dead last in like 8 shows in a row. And then finally, like, took second to last. I was like, here it is.
Yeah,
I'm on that roll.
My day.
Right?
This is my day.
And,
good job, loser.
Yeah, fast. And it really just was kind of like this snowball effect where, like, I just really dug my heels in. I mean, my first, like, 3 years of competing, I think I was competing, like, 13 to 15 times a year.
Is that a lot in the strongman space?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
You're just getting banged up?
I pretty much what I did when I was in college was I remember I was driving a 2004 Dodge Neon.
Fancy.
What?
And I was like, all right, I have the weekends free. I drew a 5-hour radius around my college, and I was like, any competition that's happening, I'm going to it.
What kept you motivated doing, in college, A, when you're like, it's easier to just go drinking,
Yeah.
and B, losing? What kept you, because there's some sort of determination within there.
I think it's, one thing I love so much about strongman, and it's a lot like CrossFit, is I've been doing this sport for 14 years. I've never once done a competition with the same events.
Overlap, but never like these
There's been
five
overlap,
identical.
but it's never been identical
The
to another
exact
show
same.
I've done.
It's like the games.
Right, it's never been the
fair,
same
yeah.
format.
Yeah.
It's never been the same event. So it's like, yeah, even though I'm competing so much, it's like, okay, like I'm training for something different. So it feels new, it feels exciting and sexy. And ultimately, like what I did was like, I just had so much fun with the training because it was so different of just being in the gym lifting a barbell. Like I'm going out into the driveway, setting up medleys and carrying yokes and stuff like that. And just like, I just had so much fun with it. And what I realized was like, early on, I needed to find like small goals that I knew I could hit that would keep me motivated. Right? Because like if I got into the sport back in 2009, I was like, I want to be at World's Strongest Man. If that was my first thought, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you guys doing
tapped
this,
out
right?
early
Like
on.
I would have there's a lot of exits on that road to take you off that path pretty quickly. So for me, it was just like setting these like small attainable goals that I knew I could hit. And I just didn't change those goals until I hit them. Right? So like my first goal in strongman was don't take last.
It
was really that it, right? Once I did that, it was like, okay, now let's not zero an event. Because up until that contest, I had zeroed one event in one of the shows.
What does that mean?
I couldn't lift the implement.
Even to start?
Didn't get a single rep, couldn't do anything.
What was one of the events you zeroed on?
Deadlift for reps, that was like in the mid 500s.
You just couldn't pull it?
Couldn't pull it. So I zeroed that event. I didn't get any points on it, right?
When you show up to a deadlift event like that, and it's not a standard barbell, does that really make a difference?
Yeah, it absolutely can. And I think also it was just like learning how to be conditioned for a 5-event strongman competition, right?
Because it's in one day?
One day. And typically in training, like, the way I'd split my training up was like, okay, like I'd be training 4 days a week. My overhead press day, I would just cheat. I would do whatever that overhead event was for the contest on my overhead press day.
Right.
Whatever the deadlift event day was, I'd do on my deadlift day. And then I'd have like 3 events to do on the weekends on my event training day. But now we're condensing all of those into 5 events in one day. And like either I wasn't conditioned enough and I just didn't have enough oomph to get through the events. So yeah, so like I finally hit that on show 9 where I didn't take last. So then that next goal was don't zero an event. After that I was like, okay, let's get top 5, then top 3. And then it was shooting for winning. And like after I got that and kind of like almost found my swagger in the sport a little bit, I started building that confidence where it's like, all right, like I won a local show. Let me get my hand at nationals. Let me go to amateur nationals, see what I can do there. And my first year there, I ended up taking second place. And that was a really great confidence
At that
boost.
level, are you still fairly small, like weight-wise?
I was still competing in the under 200 pound division.
It's hard to believe you were ever under 200. like I was saying, you're not massive in like height.
Yeah.
But you're a big, like strong dude. It's hard to believe there was 85 less of you.
The funny thing is every time like I see Chandler Smith and I give him a hug, he's like, God damn, you're so thick.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like
You're you're
and
wide.
he's a thick boy.
yeah, exactly.
What's it take to fuel yourself on a competition day like that?
So I'm really fortunate. I have a great nutrition coach, Nathan Payton.
Is he with the team also?
No, so he's not with the team, but he works with probably 20 to 30 elite level strongman competitors. And day of food is interesting, where we're big carb meal in the morning.
Like pancake type of carb meal?
Pancakes, potatoes, and then anything that will help just hit satiety to make you eat. And then throughout the competition, honestly, it's just like staying hydrated and then eating really like slow and fast acting sugars to make sure our glycogen stores and glycogen levels are up to par.
Because they're such fast events, right?
Yeah, like pretty much everything we do is 75 seconds or less.
Yeah, I was going to say under 2 minutes, yeah.
But the way I describe it to people is like, imagine throwing a treadmill on 18 and going for 75 seconds.
Your max efforts.
Yeah, it's all
pegged.
out the entire time. You know, like we look at like the Wheel of Pain event.
Is that the one where you're
walking no, so that's the one we're pushing. So we've had it at the Arnold, we've had it at the Rogue. It is a 20,000 pound implement.
That's it?
Where we have to push in a circle for 60 seconds for max distance.
Wait, it is really, were you joking? It's 20,000?
No, it's actually 20,000.
It's the one made of all the logs, right? And you're pushing. Yeah.
So it's the.
Do you think he can budget?
No. Thank you for that vote
I
of
like
confidence,
the
by the way. Yeah.
Like, no,
absolutely not. He's like, look at him.
What
He's
about me?
weak.
What about
He's weak.
I don't know if you'd be tall enough to raise the boat.
Is it high?
I mean, it's high for me.
Why does strongman hate little people like me?
Dude, strongman hates little people like me. For instance, Atlas stones, whenever we have them, right? So we always have like descending heights.
Yeah.
The first platform is taller than
You're
my
like
head.
push pressing it?
So I literally have to get it onto my chest and then press it onto the platform.
I've seen you do that one. So anyway, this 20,000.
Yeah, so for like with that, like it is 60 seconds all out effort, and just like to nerd out a little bit, right? So like my nutrition coach, he knows exactly what my glycogen, my blood sugar level has to be before I go onto the competition floor to know where I can be for optimal performance.
Wow.
So if it's a 1 rep max event, I know I need to be in like that 140 to 150 range.
And are you testing it? You literally doing blood?
We're literally testing backstage.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before an event like the Wheel of Pain, we push my blood sugar up to almost 200. So we pump it pretty high, and that's eating like Rice Krispie treats.
I feel like
I
should.
Like
I'm in the wrong sport. Is the thing. Like
Is this only on training day when you're trying to do that? Or sorry, not training day, competition day.
That when we get it that high, yes.
Right. Because I'm like thinking I'm like, man, that long term,
that's a lot of diabetes.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a lot.
But don't you have to do that on your training day too to know what that's going to feel like?
As we get closer to competition, like when we start peaking, yes. And we just try to space it out to be smart about it. But yeah, so it really is like a science to make sure that we're staying fueled, we have enough energy to get through the event.
That's so different than the way it used to be.
The really cool thing is like we'll test blood sugar right after the event. So for the Arnold this year, I was 194 going out onto the competition floor for the Wheel of Pain. When I came off, I was at 63.
Wow, you just zapped
60 seconds.
Gone.
Down 130 points.
Gone.
Yeah, so literally just.
What's that feel like?
Everything. Like full body exhaustion. Like it literally is just like you feel drained.
It's like a four. It's like a four. If you ever, of course you didn't run track. The like 400 meter sprint. When you're done, you're like, that was it. That was literally everything I had in my body.
But I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But this seems like worse.
What's your caloric intake look like?
So it really depends on the time of year.
Right.
So right now I'm 4 weeks out from a competition.
Okay.
Which one?
So we have the Giants Live World Tour Open. It's over in Cardiff, Wales.
Oh wow. Cool.
It's also the Deadlift World Championships.
Are you doing both?
Yeah. So the first event of the show is the Deadlift World Championships. So maxing out on our deadlift on our first event, then we have 4 events to do after.
All the same day.
Yeah.
But
we'll do all 5 events in about 3 hours.
What are you hoping?
3 hours? I didn't realize it was that short.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it would be like.
You're telling me.
So what do you think you'll pull?
Goals to pull 1,000.
Cool.
Yeah. So I had a really good training week. So like today, this past week and next week are like my 2 big peak weeks for my pull. Just on Thursday, I pulled 880 for a triple.
Where are you training when you're here?
I went over to Madtown Fitness here in Madison. So I have a couple of buddies that train out of that gym. So I was able to go over and get a nice deadlift session in. So yeah, so I pulled 880 for a triple. The plan next week will be like low to mid 9s for a double. And then we'll shoot for it and go for 1,000 at the show. That's the plan.
Do you bring your own barbell when you're training?
No.
They're like, you bent our bars, Rob.
Luckily, they have a Texas deadlift bar, so we're good. But I mean, I have training for the Rogue Invitational. Actually, I bent 3 barbells
at while you were traveling.
It was at my own home gym, so I bent my own barbells.
But Rogue Bill takes good care of you.
Well, luckily, I'm actually with Rep Fitness.
Oh, you're with Rep.
Yeah.
Okay, we know. Okay.
Yeah, so they actually when I sent them the picture of the bar, and they were like, "How many more weeks you got of training?" I was like, 6. They're like, all right, cool. And the next week they sent me about 4 barbells.
A lot of my stuff's from Rep because during the pandemic I couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
And I'm from Colorado.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. So like training for the Rogue, we had a 17-inch deadlift. It was about 1,000 pounds for reps. And so training that, the only real way to do that is like doing a rack pull. And doing a rack pull with 900 to 1,000 pounds for reps, the bars are just going to get middle
destroyed.
finger. Yeah, they're going to get totally messed up.
So I don't think you got to Fern's answer. How many calories are you taking in?
So getting ready for a show right now, I'm right around 6,500 to 7,000.
So
I definitely need to start doing strongman.
Yeah.
I eat that much, but I don't do the strongman.
Dude, so my powerlifting coach in high school, a guy named Gary Frank, old head. Like, I would watch this guy. He was like 405, played NFL football, you know. Like, he broke 2,500 pounds. Like,
sick.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
He was a giant man, though. He's like 6'4", 405, just like
things I would do for
devastating. And I would watch him eat during lunch.
Yeah.
He would eat like 2 pizzas.
Yep.
4 sandwiches. He would eat a dozen eggs for breakfast every day. I was just like, how is that? That's got to be
It sucks.
exhausting.
Do you really feel like eating that much sucks? Like, I would be psyched.
It's really cool for the first week. And then, like, when you're realizing you have to keep force feeding when you're not hungry, that's when it gets
Who
tough.
does the cooking at home?
Me.
You prepare all your food?
Yeah, I do all of it.
But I would
Do you try to keep it pretty high quality? I mean, that's rough because you
It's
can't
hard
do
to
high
do that.
quality.
As clean as possible.
You can't.
Right?
You can't get that many calories in with clean
what's
food.
not clean that you'll do consistently?
So the nice thing is, like, typically on big training days, I get a cheat meal.
What's your go-to?
So my nutrition coach,
not eating is I guess my cheat meal.
It's usually it's bacon cheeseburger, double fries.
A Monday for me,
Yeah. So that's usually like the go-to like cheat meal after.
And it's a couple thousand calories easily.
Yeah,
is
exactly,
the key, right?
Right, and just to like replenish, try to recover, get ready for the next day. But I mean, ultimately, like I try to keep it as clean as possible. Not obviously bodybuilder style, but like mostly like chicken, potatoes, rice, beef, stuff like that. The nice thing is with me, like, since I'm not training for aesthetics, like, I can add sauces to it. And, like, I have my guidelines set up by my coach of, like, the do's and don'ts and what I can have, what I can't have. And as long as I'm staying on track with that and eating within those parameters, like, I feel good every training session. And I know, like, I'll be ready to go.
Picture this. Your clients are coming into class and no longer feeling daunted by new movements or being intimidated because it's their first class. With Wodify, coaches can insert technique videos right into the Wodify mobile app so that clients can come to class gleaming with excitement instead of being freaked out and intimidated by things that they don't know how to do. Empower your clients with knowledge they need to thrive in their workouts while reducing the risk of injury. Give your clients a world-class workout experience from start to finish. Transform your gym's experience with Wodify. Visit wodify.com/podcast now and claim 50% off your first 3 months. Elevate your gym, empower your clients, and stay steps ahead with Wodify. Are you fluctuating at all throughout the year weight-wise?
Yeah, so...
Dude, when you're 280, you take a poop and you're down 20 pounds. For sure.
So yeah, I actually, I lost like 35 pounds after the Arnold this past March.
Okay.
I got pretty big. I was like 302 at the Arnold. Just because that is such a static, heavy show.
Right.
And I hated being that big.
Yeah.
What do you feel like? We'll never put on, hopefully, at 30 pounds.
Yeah, it honestly is more, it's just like
you just
consistent fatigue.
You feel like you're carrying 30 extra pounds all the time.
I mean, it's literally like, you get out of breath so quickly. Like, getting up and off, like, honestly, getting up and down from sitting, it's just like your body just hurts.
Because I watched that Eddie Hall documentary on Netflix, and it was like, he used to get winded going up the stairs.
Well, I think Rogue did a thing with Thor too. Same thing. It was just like you could just see when they sit down and eat, they're just like tired and eating. Just like.
And,
where do you hold it when you put on 30 pounds?
So I'm like all chest and torso. Yeah.
So it looks good.
It's not bad, but so after the Arnold, I knew I wanted to take a little bit of an off season. Talked to my nutrition coach, and this is where it gets wild. I was like, hey, like I want to drop some weight. I really don't feel healthy. Let's put together a plan. He's like, all right, how aggressive do you want to be? I was like, dude, I really want to lose like 35 pounds. Like, I really think I need to. I think I want to get back down to like competing around 270, 275. I think that's a really good weight where I feel like I can get stronger, stay relatively fit, and I know I'll be competitive. He's like, all right. He sends me my nutrition plan, and I'm eating 1,600 calories a day.
That seems like you might need a new nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it worked.
How'd that feel? You're like, I've missed the days of 7,000 calories?
How long did it take?
It took me a little over 2 months to drop 30 pounds.
I was expecting to say faster, actually.
Yeah.
So, now that you've done both, which would you prefer, 1,600 or 7,000?
4,000.
Right down the middle.
Exactly.
The funny thing was, it was like I was like 3 days in, and like literally like my first meal would be like 9 ounces of protein and fruit.
You're like, this is my appetizer.
That was great. Right. Then the next meal was like 6 ounces of protein, a cup of rice, and some veggies. And like I would just alternate those 2 meals, and I was only eating 4 times a day. So, and I couldn't eat until after 11 a.m.
So you're doing a little fasting in there as well.
Yeah, so we pushed pretty hard, and like I remember texting him on day 3. I was like, dude, I've been with you for 3 years.
Typo in here?
I forget what it's like to be hungry.
Yeah.
Like, in 3 years, I had never been hungry.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been like just eating all the time.
That's crazy.
After that first 2 weeks, I kind of leveled out and I
in.
got used to it, and it was fine and manageable. But
so you held that 1,600 all the way through that?
Yeah. Like we would have refeed days where like you'd be like, hey man, go out, let it loose.
What's your training like during this period?
Pretty light.
Lighter.
I actually started with a new coach right after the Arnold as well. So we were doing like a modified triphasic training.
Got it.
Which was awesome. My body felt good. And then he was hammering me with conditioning. So like I was doing some pretty heavy ski erg intervals. I was doing some sandbag medleys, doing bike intervals, stuff like that.
I was going to ask you, what's the conditioning look like for strongman?
Pretty nasty. Like the ski erg
it's so short.
Yeah, the ski erg intervals I would doing, like I'd do these pyramids where it's like a 250-meter sprint, rest 30 seconds, 500-meter sprint, rest a minute, 1,000 meters, 90 seconds, and then go back down 500 and 250.
That's gross.
And I would have to hold under a 138 pace the entire time.
You're sprinting.
Yeah.
Sprint. Yeah, getting after
and then
it.
he had me go all out one time and do a 500-meter all-out sprint. And
on the ski erg?
On the ski erg.
You didn't break it?
No, I didn't.
Just rip the arms off.
I ended up pulling a 126 for a 500.
You might make the CrossFit Games.
For that one event.
Yeah. Listen, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. You take first place right there.
You must be what, like 32?
31. 32 in
Yeah.
November, yeah.
How long can you sustain this? Like, what's the average life of a strongman? Not just the toll it's taking on your body, at your level.
Yeah, you know, so it's obvious. It's very subjective, mainly because of when people start. I started young, right? So like my training age is pretty old. I'm 14 in this sport.
Yeah,
that's a lot of years, and I only want to do this for another 3 or 4 years. You know, I think like to me, it's like I still love it, but I want to finish while I still love it. You know, I don't want to have any resentment towards the sport and anything like that.
That's interesting because when you say that age, because that'll put you at like 34, and that's usually when people like hit like peak strength. Yeah, like as at least males, you know. But you're just like, but you started so much earlier.
Yeah,
like,
and I feel like I'm kind of in that right now. Like I know I am still getting stronger. It's just taken me a little bit longer. It's taking me longer to get stronger. It's taking me longer to recover. And like, I also, like I said, I want to be able to end on my terms. I want to be able to leave the sport knowing like I had a really good time. I loved every part about it, and I don't want to like look back and think, you know, like, was I hanging on too long and just skating by?
People are like,
shows.
all right, Rob.
Yeah, right. Like,
time to hang them up.
Time to hang them up.
Leave your shoes on the floor.
Yeah.
So and now, what's really cool with hard work pays off, and working with Matt and the team, you've got a new career path that you probably had no idea would be there. Now you're a coach.
Yeah, you know, it's really surreal. You know, I coached in strongman for a little bit, and honestly, I didn't like it. You know, it was one of those things where it was, you know, kind of like shitting where I was eating, and it was
too much time invested in it.
Yeah, way too much, and that like honestly started making me resent the sport a little bit. And now having this opportunity, not only to coach the fittest athletes in the world and working with them on a daily basis, but also like having my own training platform through our app. It's so cool to really kind of like have this full circle moment to where I got my start in CrossFit, you know, 14 years ago, and now like this is where my career's taken me to now where like I get to coach at the CrossFit Games.
Right, because did you ever think it would come back? Did you think when you like
Hell
transitioned,
no.
you're out of CrossFit?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've always stayed in CrossFit in some sense because we know how much CrossFit loves strongman. And it was usually one of the only places I could go to do my training, right?
Yeah.
Like when I would move to a new location.
Yeah, because they have all the stuff.
Every time I visited somewhere, it was like CrossFit gyms were always like, yeah, you can come in, you know, get your deadlift session in, or like we have some strongman stuff in the back, and I could always make it work. So I've always stayed involved and always followed the sport. You know, that's why it's like, it's so surreal to me to be here because like 2009, I remember watching the CrossFit Games and watching Annie get her first muscle up.
Yeah,
right. Like I
that's
remember
cool.
You were there at those games?
I wasn't there,
Oh, but
but
you
it's
were
just like
watching?
being able to watch it and now be here. And I think like the biggest, most surreal moment was last year was when I first met Katrin. And I remember we were at Big Dane. I had just finished coaching a class, and I was like, oh shit, like that's Katrin. Like this is wild.
She was with you guys at the time?
She wasn't with
Oh,
me.
she was, okay.
Yeah, she didn't train
And
me.
so I was like, okay, like, gonna go introduce myself. So I work up
why
the
are you
courage.
sweating?
Literally. Like, so I go up, I'm like,
You got
hi.
Rice Krispie treats on your face.
So I go up, I'm like, hi, Katrin, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Rob Kearney. She goes, I know who you are. I was like, well, all right, I'm good.
Ego.
See ya.
Yeah,
That's it,
yeah.
you know? And like that was such a cool moment for me, you know, to have this two-time games champ, who actually at the time, unbeknownst to me, was on week 4 of my HWPO Strong program.
Oh, so she was
that's cool.
she was dipping
Stalking.
out over
She was
there at that
stalking.
time.
She was
Yeah.
stalking.
So yeah, apparently she had reached out to O'Keefe and was like, hey, like I heard about this new strength program, and he like gave her access to it, and she had been doing it. And that turned into this like amazing relationship where like I had really been her head coach from pretty much the games last year up until the Open.
And so now you are her strength coach?
Yeah, so I'm the strength coach for all of our games athletes.
So you don't live in Tennessee?
No, so Matt's based out of Burlington, Vermont.
Oh, that's right. He's in Vermont now.
just-
Yeah.
They just built that. They just
Yeah.
opened 2
Our
months ago?
headquarters back in April.
So
Yeah.
Burlington's awesome.
Burlington's great.
Great
so,
Ben and Jerry's there. You going there a lot? What's your
am I
favorite Ben and
going
Jerry's?
there? So I made Tonight Dough.
That's
Right?
That's the Jimmy Fallon one.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a good one. Yeah.
So I live in Massachusetts. I'm only about a 3-hour drive from our HQ. So I go up every few weeks and get some FaceTime with the athletes, and a lot of it is virtual, right? So it really is just a beautiful synchronicity of myself, Matt, and then Amy Everett, our Olympic lifting coach.
Amy,
Yep, Amy.
is Josh there too? Just
Josh Godinez.
no. What's
Josh
Amy's?
Everett.
Josh. Greg Everett.
Sorry,
my
Greg,
bad,
yeah, sorry.
No,
I was thinking
so-
old school Josh.
Yeah,
Everett,
yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
so Catalyst is separate
yeah.
from Amy working with us, so it's just Amy. But we all work so well together, where we have our athletes, training splits up, and we all input all of our stuff to make sure it all works together and makes sense. And that's really
I'm so glad you do that. It drives
Yeah.
me insane when I see people just hodgepodging
How d-
programs.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work? So you have Amy doing Olympic lifting, you're doing strongman, you have an endurance coach in there, I'm assuming?
So,
or some,
I mean, we have like our
Matt
three,
obviously does
yeah,
a-
we have like our 3 CrossFit coaches, and Matt, Jake Marconi, Josh Godinez. They pretty much handle all that CrossFit specific training. And
so
Steve
how do you kind of overlay that to make sure it makes sense?
So we have weekly coaching meetings where we talk about the upcoming week of training, and then we all have shared spreadsheets of essentially we say, hey, all right, here is our focus, here's what we're working towards, and pretty much
For each athlete?
For each athlete.
That's not just for because someone can sign up and do the program.
Yes.
But this is
For our games athletes.
How many athletes are you guys working with?
So we had 8 competing here this weekend.
So you have to do that for every one of them?
Yeah.
How much time does that take per?
Pretty good amount of time.
You have to. They all need their own.
That's what I'm
stuff.
saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was only thinking about it from this
macro
perspective.
level, yeah.
But then it's probably more time consuming when you get to an individual level.
Well,
for
and not
that.
to mention, obviously, like things change during the week, right? So we have to be able to pivot
Right.
and make changes.
When
But,
you guys do that, I'm thinking through a programming standpoint. Who kind of starts that process? The base. I'm assuming it would be, but I had an assumption it would be
CrossFit.
strength.
I would
but
think it's CrossFit.
But it would also be based on where you're at in the season, I would imagine.
So totally based on where we're at in the season, and it's actually mostly the strength stuff that we base our
Strength goes first.
Strength
You
is
have
the-
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're most important on the team is what you're
So-
saying here on the show.
MVP,
You're more important than Matt.
MVP.
You said it, not me. So it really is Amy and I working together, and that it is really different depending on each athlete, right? Because some athletes need a little bit more push on their Olympic lifting and technique stuff. Some athletes just need more of that raw strength and power, where that's where it lends itself to me. And so Amy and I work really closely together to make sure our strength and Olympic lifting match up really well. We're not overdoing the CNS. We're not overtaxing them to be able to get to their CrossFit stuff. Once we input our progressions, and then Matt and the rest of the team will come in and they'll fill in the blanks with all the other stuff that they need.
But do you ever get into an argument because you feel what you're programming is like but this is more important. I get it, they need to snatch, but this lift.
No, I think that's what's so cool about like Amy and I is like we've worked really closely together where like there's been some times where it's like, hey, like we're in a really heavy clean and jerk phase right now. Do you mind if I take the front squat programming from you so it lines up better with what I'm doing?
It's cool synergy,
and listen, like,
yeah.
I'm not too proud to be able to do that.
That's
like, right?
cool.
Like
No,
for me,
you need to be that way.
for me,
A
what
lot of
matters
coaches
most,
are not that way, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, what matters most is the athlete's performance. Right, like
cool.
I don't need to have a gold star on my chest, right? Like I want them to win. out
If
on
they
the
do
floor.
well, you have all the gold stars you
Exactly, right? And so making sure that we're working together so well to make sure that we're, honestly, all we want to do is put the best program out there for our athletes to succeed. And that's just like all of us on the staff have that same mentality.
need. We've not seen any of the competition this year.
Yeah.
How are your athletes doing?
They're competing.
Got it.
It's been a tough year.
Yeah.
We still have 2 athletes out on the floor. We have Katrin and Sam Quant. They're still going
God,
after it
he's
today.
just steady Eddie,
He's
man.
every year he's there, yeah.
He's so deceiving too, and he's great to work with. He's got this like really dry, hysterical sense of humor, and I take a lot of pride, obviously, in Katrin because I worked so closely with her
Because
for
you swiped her,
7
yeah,
months.
stole her.
Yeah, hey, she came to us, man. She came to us, and
What athletes are you going to steal this year?
Jason, you're
Who's on
killing
the
me,
list?
man.
Who's on the list that you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are going to call after on Monday? Who's
Tell you what, you
Who's
beat me in
keep
an arm
calling?
wrestling match, I'll tell you.
Lefty or righty?
So when you look at somebody's coming, you're like, hey, I want to start implementing strongman. So you're looking at CrossFit training in general. You're like, what's the number one thing that you see that would make them better at CrossFit?
So if we're looking at like,
Because obviously nobody's ever like, I wish I wasn't so strong. Like that's not a thing.
so my strength philosophy is that in order to get stronger, it needs to be centered around a base of work capacity and volume.
Okay.
So one of my favorite protocols that I put our athletes through is one that is just dirty and nasty, but I think it's really telling to where they are in their strength journey. I'd love for you guys to test this out.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Take any one of your lifts. We'll say back squat, for example.
Yeah.
You're going to take 70%. We're going to do 4 sets, max reps in 45 seconds with 90 seconds rest in between sets.
I'm not going to do that. I misspoke. I'm not going to do
Right?
that.
So like that's one of the protocols I have our athletes go through.
That just
And
blows you up.
The goal should be anywhere from 9 to 12 reps per set.
Okay, let me work through the math. I've got a
That's-
400-pound back
that's
squat,
throw- that's
70%,
throw-up time, dude.
280. So max reps of 280 in 45
45
seconds,
seconds.
then
90
back
seconds.
at it in 90
90
seconds.
seconds rest between each set.
And you're holding. So what are you looking for? What's the outcome you're looking for?
So
or what?
I want to see consistent reps across sets. I don't want to see you come out hot and hit like 16, then 11, then 4, right? Like I want to see that 9 to 12 every single
Single
set.
set.
So maintaining that volume, that work capacity throughout the sets. And like, hey, nothing I program is something I haven't done. Right? Like,
Right.
so I've done this protocol with 600 pounds on a back squat.
But were you impressed when I said I had a 400 squat just
That was
now?
pretty dope, yeah.
so-
That's actually not true, but that's
Range of motion's like 6 inches. So
I've seen it. Yeah. Talking about this yesterday.
seen it, yeah.
Yeah. It's like one day we'll get you below parallel.
But you did
yeah.
it with 600 pounds?
Yeah, so
What
that's-
was your best? Your
So
squat
my
was in the
best
8s
squat
then.
ever is 961. That's the most I've ever squatted.
Like-
What
goal now.
were you weighing for that?
It's about 280.
280,
285,
yeah, this-
So,
yeah, okay.
so did you hold that 9 to 12 when you did it
I
at
did,
6?
yeah.
What's the goal? You're just looking for the ability to flush, or what? Like,
So
what's,
it's the ability to recover under high levels of stress and fatigue, but also it is like seeing where your base of work capacity is. I think to me that is my foundation of strength building, right? If we're looking at like the Rob Kearney strength pyramid, it is going to be work capacity and volume at the base, and then we're building up from there. And I think a lot of strength coaches don't necessarily take that approach because what
you're
ends up
looking
happening,
for top ends, right?
everybody's looking for top end, but for me, it's like, okay, if we can get you into that position where you're hitting these amount of reps, you're going to be able to start hitting that top end a little
I was
bit
gonna say
sooner.
you can make some really strong assumptions about your top end strength.
Well,
at
it's
that
this
point.
exactly what Hinshaw spoke about.
Yeah.
It's a base
Yeah.
of the period. It's his Z2 or zone 2, right? You're doing the same thing. That's got to be. I mean, that must mess your CNS up for a week.
It's
It's
tough.
devastating.
And so in the HWPO Strong program, weeks 3, 4, and 5 of your first 12 weeks, you're doing that 4 times a week.
Wait. You're doing that 4 times
So
a week?
we'll do it with back squat. We'll do it with
Are you
deadlift,
trying to
we'll
sell
do it with bench press,
HWPO right
we'll
now?
do it
Because I
with
feel like
overhead
you're
press.
doing a bad job.
So I feel like that would. So, 2 questions. A, I feel like that would crush me. I feel like I would be.
You get a deload week after week 3 of that, though. So
Yeah, but at week 2, I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yeah, he's not making it past week 1.
That's 8 sessions.
You do that 4 times a
So
week.
if you are seeing this degradation in numbers, what are you thinking about as a coach from a programming standpoint in order to make that correction? Like, what kind of volume are we having to deal with into the future?
So for me, it's looking at, okay, yes, your 1 rep max strength is great, but your ability to hit multiples of a high percentage is low. So we need to actually back off of that perceived 1 rep max. So pull that 1 rep max percentage down, maybe about
10.
5%.
Oh, 5, okay.
Yeah. 8 at the most.
Okay.
And then we'll use that as our max in order to start building off of, so we can again start building that foundation.
Like, you have to hit the numbers. If you can't hit the numbers, the training is useless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be able to progress like we do. And like you said, like, yeah, it's a really fucking hard protocol. It hurts, but
And it works.
in trying to sell HWPO Strong, in the first 12 weeks of our program, we're seeing an average increase of our total of over 100 pounds in 12 weeks. Right? Like, so our average deadlift increase is 40 pounds. Our average back squat increase is 35 pounds. Our average bench press increases 25 to 30 pounds. So,
Not to be cliche, hard work pays off.
Are you doing? Is that just for back squat, that protocol? Or are
No,
you
no,
doing
said
it
all
for
those.
all
So
of
we're
it?
doing it 4 days a week. So day
Pull,
1
press,
would
squat.
be day 1 will be back squat, then we'll bench press, then we'll deadlift, then we'll overhead press with it as well.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to check you guys out.
It's a nasty,
I don't want to be
nasty
strong.
protocol,
I'm not
but
interested. That sounds terrible.
no one ever
I'm mostly
want to
in the-
be
It's
strong.
like being smart.
He
I
had
can't-
me at the
can't
Rice
believe I do all these
Krispies, if
things.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Before we let
he's
you-
doing it because he wants to eat.
Yes, hey, take it.
Before
Take
we
it.
let you go, I promised Presley, what's the initiative that you guys have? Hard work pays off?
So right now we're doing the Clean Lakes Initiative. So
Clean-
this is the last week in Madison. So with HWPO, one of the most amazing things that we do as a company is every month we have HWPO Give, where we choose a new charity to align ourselves with, and we fundraise and donate to that charity. So with being the last year here in Madison, we decided the Clean Lakes Initiative to just help the ecosystem and help fight some climate control and stuff like that. So it's one of the coolest things that we do as a company, being able to give back. Like as a company, we make a minimum $5,000 donation every month to any initiative
That's
we align
really cool,
ourselves
man.
with. We also, promote them through all of our social media channels and stuff like that. So it's really something special to us that we just
That's
started
cool.
this year.
And then we're going to tell you right now, 2 fathers right here, you're about to have to do more work. Because when Matt and Sam have that baby, they're going to be calling you, hey, Rob, I thought I'd be able to do this. Turns out this little monster is stopping me.
You're going to have to pick up
Yeah,
our...
Rob, we're going to need you to do the CrossFit
Selfish plug as
programming.
well, since you both are dads.
Or they're
I did
going to
have
be like, babysit.
Oh, wait.
We need
I had
to-
a children's book come out last year.
Oh, did
what's
you?
it called?
What's it
So
called?
it's called Strong.
Okay, I've seen it now that you mentioned
so
it.
feel free to check that out.
Yeah,
It's,
we will.
It's definitely a big passion.
I need a new
project
book.
of mine.
I read the same book every night to my
Right.
daughter.
This
I need a
one's-
new one.
This one has truck pulls in it. It
Oh,
has
she's
log
gonna be-
presses in it.
She's going to be psyched. Does it have Rice Krispies? Because she likes those.
It has cake.
You got me.
My son,
You got me.
My son's in. I'm trying to explain to my daughter that he thinks everything is a laser gun. She's like, I don't know why he doesn't want to play the game. And I'm like, he thinks it's a laser gun.
We're gonna
She's like,
check
it's
out-
not. It's a unicorn. I'm like, it's not how it
I
works.
love that.
Strong by Rob Kearney.
Yeah,
we'll check
That's
it out.
awesome, dude.
Awesome.
It's been
Dude,
great.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you
luck
so
the rest
much,
of the
guys.
weekend,
I really
man. Thanks for
appreciate it.
having.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
good luck in
for coming
4
here.
weeks. Get that
Yeah,
1,000,
yeah.
please.
That's
I
the
want to
Crush it,
see
dude.
it.
Crush it, dude. We'll be
Yeah.
pulling it for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Check out
fellas.
their program, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.